The news broke just after midnight, and within minutes, the entire fandom was in chaos. ZU's cheating scandal, which had already shaken the industry weeks earlier, suddenly resurfaced. This time, fans weren't just talking about him. Tian Xuning's name was dragged into the storm as well, turning a single controversy into a full-blown wildfire. It all began when new screenshots appeared online, messages allegedly from the same former partner who had accused ZU back in July. She claimed that ZU had not only dated her while entertaining other women, but that some of his closest colleagues knew about everything and chose to stay silent. That single line was enough for the internet to explode. Many immediately assumed she was hinting at Tian Xuning. Rumors spread like gasoline in the wind. People said Tian had covered for ZU. Others said Tian knew about the relationships but chose not to get involved. Some even twisted it, claiming that Tian was deliberately keeping quiet because he and ZU were protecting each other for reasons nobody could quite prove. By sunrise, both actors were trending, not for their drama, not for their achievements, but for a scandal neither of them seemed prepared to handle. What made everything worse was the timing. Tian Xuning was already struggling with his own set of controversies, the paparazzi videos, the hand-holding rumors, the accusations about past relationships, and the constant debate about whether he was being honest with the public. He had just begun to rebuild his image when the internet suddenly linked him to ZU's situation, turning two separate issues into one tangled narrative. Inside industry circles, insiders whispered that Tian was furious. Not because he believed ZU was guilty, but because every time he tried to escape controversy, it found a way to pull him back in. He had reportedly spent months trying to stabilize his career, only for ZU's scandal to drag him back into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. According to one staff member, Tian had tried to stay supportive of ZU when the accusations first broke, encouraging him to stay calm, offering comfort, and trying to keep him grounded. But Tian never imagined that his quiet support would later be twisted into something darker. ZU, meanwhile, had gone silent. His apology in July had been public, emotional, and sincere enough that many fans were willing to forgive him. He promised to step back, reflect, and return only when he felt ready. But the new wave of accusations hit him harder than the first. People close to the production said ZU felt defeated, like he was losing battles he never got the chance to fight. He feared that every move he made, every friend he had, everything he tried to fix, would only generate more chaos. The pressure on both of them continued to rise. Journalists began digging, fans began speculating, and anti-fans began twisting the truth. One anonymous account claimed that Tian had been present during one of ZU's overlapping relationship moments, but provided no evidence. Another accused Tian of hiding the truth to protect ZU's reputation. Suddenly, even their friendship, the same bond viewers admired behind the scenes, became a target for scrutiny. And yet, deep down, the truth was far simpler than the rumors. Tian had never been involved. ZU had never asked him to intervene. Their friendship wasn't built on secrecy or manipulation. It was built on two young actors trying to survive an industry that demanded perfection from imperfect human beings. But the internet doesn't care about truth. It cares about stories. And the story people wanted to believe was that both actors were hiding something, that behind the polished drama posters and flawless fan meetings, something messy, complicated, and scandalous was taking place. The speculation grew so intense that their agencies were forced into emergency meetings. Managers debated whether to issue joint statements or separate ones. They were terrified of making things worse. Meanwhile, Tian and ZU had one private conversation that no one knew about. Late at night, away from cameras, away from staff, away from the noise. ZU apologized, not for what he had been accused of, but for dragging Tian into something he never asked for. Tian simply told him to breathe. He reminded him that scandals fade, but the truth doesn't, and that no matter what people said, the only thing they could control was how they handled the storm. Unbeknownst to them, that conversation would become the turning point, because what happened next would change the public narrative in ways neither expected. The days after ZU's apology were quiet, almost unnervingly so. He had pulled back from everything: schedules, interviews, brand shoots, even fan meetings. For someone who used to update his socials almost daily, his sudden silence felt louder than the scandal itself. And in that silence, rumors began crawling out from every corner of the internet. People were asking the same question: if Ziyu had pulled away from the spotlight, who was helping him through it all? That was when Tian Xuning's name unexpectedly resurfaced. At first, it was one blurry fan photo, Tian Xuning arriving at a quiet cafe in Don Road, wearing a cap and a mask, speaking softly to a staff member as she was led to a private room upstairs. 10 minutes later, another figure entered through a side door. Fans only caught a split-second angle, but it was unmistakable. Ziyu, looking exhausted, sleeves pulled over his hands, head down, walking behind a staff manager as if he didn't want to be seen. That single fan photo was enough. It spread everywhere in minutes. People started asking why Tian Xuning, who had been busy promoting her youth romance drama, would suddenly clear a morning just to meet someone who was drowning in negative press. And more importantly, why had she met him privately when the world was already connecting their names? Some argued it was nothing, maybe just a friend offering comfort. Others insisted it was too intimate, too risky, too emotional to be just friendship. But the truth was far more complicated than the internet thought. Ziyu had not been coping well. Sources close to his team noted he hadn't been sleeping, barely eating, and was overwhelmed by how quickly public opinion turned. The apology had been sincere, but the aftermath shattered him. Every hour, new accusations, exaggerated posts, and fan wars erupted. It was a storm he felt he couldn't outrun. And in that chaos, there was only one person who reached out without hesitation. Tian Xuning. She didn't text him empty comfort. She didn't call him to ask what happened. She simply sent a message that read, "You don't need to explain anything to me. Just tell me where you are." That was why he agreed to see her at the cafe. Inside that private room, Ziyu broke down for the first time. The pressure, the betrayal from someone he once trusted, the guilt of disappointing fans, it all spilled out. Tian Xuning didn't say much. She simply listened, offering the silence he desperately needed. And when he finally calmed down, she said one thing that changed him. "You're allowed to make mistakes. What matters is how you come back from them." But the comfort she offered came with a price neither expected. Within 48 hours, tabloids were running explosive headlines. Anonymous insiders claimed Tian Xuning had been secretly involved with Ziyu even before the scandal. Twisted narratives spread like wildfire. Gossip pages accused her of being the real reason behind the breakup, while toxic threads claimed she was benefiting from his downfall. Tian Xuning stayed silent, refusing to feed the frenzy. But the silence only intensified speculation. And when reporters ambushed her outside her drama press event, asking whether she was dating Ziyu, her response added gasoline to the fire. She didn't deny it outright. Instead, she paused, took a breath, and said, "Some people deserve support, especially when the world is against them." No names, no details, no explanations, but her eyes carried a truth she couldn't hide. That clip alone sent social media into meltdown. People argued endlessly. Was she protecting him? Was she hinting at something deeper? Was this friendship, loyalty, or something more personal? Meanwhile, Ziyu, who had seen the clip late at night while scrolling alone in his apartment, felt something shift inside him. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel alone. The weight on his chest loosened. The silence in his apartment didn't feel suffocating anymore. But the peace didn't last long. Someone posted an anonymous message claiming Tian Xuning had been seen entering Ziyu's residential building late at night. Another claimed they had been texting for months, even before the apology. And another alleged their relationship was emotionally entangled. Whether any of it was true didn't matter. The internet had made up its mind. But behind the scenes, the situation was far more delicate. Tian Xuning had been trying to help Ziyu rebuild himself, not professionally, but emotionally. She reminded him to eat. She forced him to go on silent walks so he didn't shut the world out. She checked on him when no one else did. And slowly, his walls began to fall. One evening, after a long conversation, Ziyu said something he had never admitted to anyone. "When everyone left, you were the only one who stayed." Tian Xuning didn't respond. She simply placed a cup of tea in his hands and sat beside him in the quiet. But that moment, small, gentle, unspoken, changed everything. Because that was the night Ziyu realized something he had been too afraid to acknowledge. He didn't just lean on Tian Xuning. He cared for her. Deeply. Dangerously. More than he should at a time like this. And Tian Xuning, despite trying to keep her distance, was slowly becoming the lighthouse pulling him out of his darkest storm. Whether they wanted it or not, a connection was forming, one that could save them both or break them even further once the world found out. And as the rumors grew louder, the question everyone kept asking suddenly became harder to ignore. Were Tian Xuning and ZU simply two co-stars caught in the same controversy? Or were they falling into something neither could walk away from? As the days went on, the internet seemed determined to pit ZU and Tian Xuning against each other, even though neither had said a single word to confirm anything. What complicated everything was how strangely quiet Tian Xuning remained. She wasn't posting anything, she wasn't addressing the rumors, and she wasn't even appearing at events she had previously confirmed. That silence became its own headline, its own scandal, its own mystery. People started asking, was she avoiding the press to protect ZU, or to distance herself from him? The rumor mill didn't slow down. It only grew louder. 3 days after ZU's apology, Tian Xuning was spotted at a cafe in Shanghai, sitting alone with a notebook, looking exhausted, like someone who had been carrying too many emotions at once. The pictures leaked online, and suddenly the internet had a new theory. She had been helping ZU craft his apology letter. Fans zoomed in on the notebook, convinced they could see lines matching his statement. It didn't matter if the photos were blurry. It didn't matter if the handwriting didn't match. The belief spread faster than the truth ever could. By the end of the week, a different rumor surfaced, that ZU had been secretly relying on Tian Xuning for emotional support ever since the scandal broke, and that their bond had only grown stronger behind the scenes. Some people believed it. Some were furious about it. Some felt she was being dragged into a mess she never asked for. Then came the anonymous insider report, the one that changed everything. Someone claimed that Tian Xuning had visited ZU late at night at his apartment, staying for almost 2 hours before leaving through a private back exit. It spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed about a secret meeting. Fan pages broke into chaos. Comment sections exploded with arguments, theories, screenshots, and timelines. People who once adored their on-screen chemistry suddenly had strong opinions about their personal lives. Supporters defended them with everything they had, insisting that friendship and loyalty shouldn't be twisted into something scandalous. Haters claimed Tian Xuning was trying to save her image by appearing close to him. Others argued she was hurting herself by staying involved. The tension grew so wild that Tian Xuning's own agency had to step in. But even that didn't calm anything. The agency only released a generic line. Tian Xuning is focusing on her work and respectfully asked for space during this time. That simple statement created even more questions than answers. Why didn't they deny anything? Why didn't they clarify the late-night visit? Why didn't they mention ZU at all? Was this silence intentional? It was the next unexpected event that truly sent everything spiraling. A behind-the-scenes staff member from their drama set anonymously revealed that ZU had visited Tian Xuning first, not the other way around. He supposedly went to her rehearsal studio the evening before his public apology, asking her for advice because she was the only person who understood him right now. Those words ignited the fandom. Some celebrated this as proof that their connection was deeper than just co-stars. Others panicked, fearing Tian Xuning would become collateral damage in an already intense scandal. But the wildest twist came from ZU himself. 11 days after the cheating allegations, he posted something no one expected, a picture of his script from their drama, with one line underlined. I trust you, even when the world doesn't. He didn't tag anyone. He didn't explain anything. He didn't even write a caption. But everyone knew who that message was for. The reactions were immediate, feverish, explosive. People argued whether it was a romantic hint, a friendship message, or a coded apology. But one thing was clear, the story wasn't slowing down. If anything, it was just beginning. And then, Tian Xuning finally broke her silence. With one single video, one soft, emotional line. And what she said next was something no one expected.